So on today's agenda, there's a few items I want to cover. One is that some of you may have seen us talk about Excel Report Builder in the past, but if you have not, I just want to do a quick overview just to introduce you to the tool, what it is, how you can use it. And then we'll do a demonstration of the product itself. We'll first go through the setup and configuration, and then some modifying of some reports. And then how you can go ahead and turn the report data, bring it into Excel, and then turn it around and send it into GP. Okay, so let's start with a quick overview. So what is Excel Report Builder? So basically what it is a tool that builds refreshable Microsoft Excel spreadsheets based on GP data, and actually more. I mean, it's using the Smart Builder tool set. So in Smart Builder, you can always go ahead and bring in additional information from SQL if you've got other applications. So if you're using Smart List Builder, or even Smart List in general, you pretty much have the skill set needed to go ahead and use this product. And Excel Report Builder is part of that Smart List Builder module. So that module, the Smart List Builder module, encompasses 4 tools, which are Smart List Builder, which builds Smart Lists. It builds additional Smart Lists, the ones that default, that ship with Smart Lists. And then there's Excel Report Builder, which actually goes ahead and does, instead of in Smart Lists going ahead and taking the information from GP and then taking it to Excel, you're actually taking it right directly in Excel. You're pulling the information down. If you want to go ahead then and take the return trip in Excel and be able to drill back into GP, that's where Navigation List Builder comes in, and the Drill Down Builder as well. Okay, so what is the Excel Report Builder? So what they are is they're refreshable reports directly in Excel. So that's kind of important. So in Smart List, a typical exercise is we're taking you get your Smart List together, which is great. It's got drill back into it, gives you the information you need, and someone requests the information, so you download it to Excel, attach it to an email, or put it to a network share, and send it off to here. Here, if we're using the Excel Report Builder, we can eliminate the intermediate step. What we're doing is we're basically going to go and give the information to the person inside Excel, and they can just refresh the information as needed. So we can format the report once and pull in the latest data. And what it is it gives us fast data access. It eliminates that intermediate step. So we can just go from Excel, pull the information in GP, and be refreshed and good to go. And it has user-friendly names for data. So instead of saying original transaction amount, we can put invoice amount. We can change it so that it's a little easier for the end user to see. And it uses Active Directory security to access the data. Okay, so let's continue on. So I want to do now a brief demonstration of Excel Report Builder. So here we are, we're inside GP, and what I'm going to do is first show you some deployment options. So in order to get you up and running, if you're not using it already, we need to go to Tools, and then we need to go to Setup, and then we need to go to the System area. And in the System area, there's going to be an area here called Reporting Tools Setup. And you just simply click on that. Okay, and you can see there's 2 different areas here. There's Reporting Services and there's Excel Reports. I'm going to be in the Excel report. It has a green check mark over here. That indicates to me that I've already deployed the reports for all my companies. And I get a choice over here that I can go ahead and I can say I'm going to go ahead and put all these Excel reports on a network share, or I can use SharePoint if that's your preference. If I go into here, when I say a network share, I'm going to say where on the network it is. Now here I'm just on my demo image, so I'm putting it on the C drive, but you can put it anywhere you are. You can put the link over there. And you need to go ahead and also have a configuration file or a user level here, and that's typically not the same, so that this way you can hide it from the users, but that's where all of the connection information is in there. And so this is, once this is deployed once, you're good to go. So let's go ahead and go into Excel and just see how that looks. Okay, so I'm in here with my customer information. I just wanted to give someone, the customer names and addresses and telephone numbers. They don't have access to GP. So if I wanted to go ahead and see some information about this, and if I go into data and I look at the connection information, I can go ahead and look at the properties. Inside the properties here, it tells me a couple of key pieces of information. It will tell me, first of all, how often I want to refresh it. This is going to be pulling, so you can go ahead and say every 60 minutes, every 1 minute, every 2 minutes, I want you to refresh the data. So if the person has the information open and they're looking at something different, let's just switch over to something a little bit more relevant. Let me close out of this for a second. Don't save that. And let's go back into Excel. And actually, I'll go into the top 50 customers. Here I have my customer names and my customer balances. And I want this information to be refreshed. And so I'm in here, I go into data, and I'm in connections, and I'm in properties. And I'm going to go ahead and say refresh it, but refresh it every 1 minute or every 2 minutes. And this way, if they have it open and I'm posting more invoices, that information is going to automatically refresh. The alternative to that is that I would have to go in here, and when I want to go ahead and refresh it, say refresh all. And now it's pulling the information from GPay. I can do a whole bunch of filtering. Let me go back to the connections for a second because I want to show you guys some of the information that happens. It is your choice whether you want to save the data when you save the file or you want to remove the data, which is the best practice here. We're removing the data when we close the file. What that means is that as I save this file, it's going to lose the data, and when I open it up again, it's going to pull the data back in. So this way, someone that does not have rights to it cannot see a regular Excel spreadsheet. That is the best practice for security. And so you have a choice to go ahead and turn that on or off. There's also some information over here about, some SQL and where the information came from, etc. So if I'm in here and I wanted to do some filtering, I could go ahead and I might want to have a salesperson here, or I might want to have some additional information. I can go ahead and do some filtering, just classic Excel filtering, where I can say number filters and just give me the top 10. Let's just change that to top 10. I can also later on go into, and I can put some charts over here. So now the formatting is going to hold. So when I save the file, it's going to actually lose the data, but when I open it up again, it's going to pull in the information, and it's going to pull in the information, saving the filtering I've done inside Excel. There's going to be some additional things that you can do inside before to go ahead and streamline the way you're refreshing the data. But right now, this is the information's pulling through. Okay, so let's go back to the presentation, and I'll just try to explain a couple more points to you guys. Okay. So what are some of the differences between, so we know that we can go ahead, as part of the Smart List Builder series, so we know that we can go ahead and the functionality works the same, but there are some differences. So let's go ahead and make sure we create some awareness of that from the beginning. So the Excel Report Builder doesn't have the go-to buttons. So inside Smart List you can say go to and just choose the records you want because you're inside the GP application. So it does not have the go-to, but it does have drill back. So you can put links, hyperlinks, inside your Excel spreadsheet and set them up inside GP, and they come into your Excel spreadsheet that will drill back into the GP application. That, of course, is going to take up a license, and you would have to have the security clearance to do that. In addition, Excel Report Builder permissions are set differently because users are accessing outside of Microsoft Dynamics GP. So we're using Active Directory here. We're not using the SQL logins or the GP logins. So the security is different. And rather than taking a deep dive into that, what I would suggest is that there's a knowledge base article out there that does a great job of just explaining it. Most people are not in charge of setting security, so I don't want to dive into that here, but definitely reach out to us if that's something that you're deploying for your organization and you want to go ahead and understand how the security works. This is part of the Extend the Reach products, the Excel Report Builder. It's now being taken over by E1, which is one of the premier ISVs. They wrote it to begin with. And it allows you to go ahead and engage the organization at large using GP data without consuming the full license, so it becomes a very economic deployment. The other thing is Excel Report Builder creates SQL views for each report, and that's actually pretty cool because it's going to create the views in SQL as you create those Smart List Builder reports, which means that you can use them in SSRS or Crystal reports or any external report builders. They're going to be a byproduct of the Excel Report Builder report. And the Excel Report Builder doesn't have defaults on columns. So in Smart List Builder, there's two things. There's default and display, and you can default them, but then say only display these unless I ask for them. Inside Excel Report Builder, it's just Excel columns, so it's basically just, you're just doing the default columns. And that's really the way it should work. And then there is kind of a cool thing here that the Excel Report Builder can give you the information to create worksheets for each company. So if anyone is in a multi-company deployment and they don't want to go ahead and set up a report in every single company, there's a checkbox that we can go in there to create worksheets inside a single workbook, giving us the data for each company, which, you know, if someone's managing, you know, sales in the organization or they want to look at vendor transactions, that's definitely a very, very efficient way to deploy it. Okay, and then there's new features that now that E1 has taken over it and Microsoft has given it back to them to further the development, there's some new features that they just are really enhancing this product pretty aggressively. There's now some preview of data, there's icons for data sources, and there's a table finder feature. Okay, so let me go in, and before we go into the how to bring it back, let me just go ahead and do some more demonstration of some product. So I've got the information in here, and let me go ahead and call up another file. So I'll say open, and let's go into our computer, and we know that we put our reports in on the C drive under report files. Okay, so if you can see, I've got a whole file here under reports, and it's going to have one for each company when you deploy it. I'm in the Fabricam, that's the name of my company. It's not going to give you the name of the company, but it's going to give you the database ID. So once you know that, and it's going to have each area. So the same way that SmartList, it's going to deploy in your deployment for every module you have registered. These are the ones that I have registered. If you only have fixed assets, financial, and purchasing, that's all you're going to see. You're not going to see extraneous things. And just to go back for a second, they're separating out the connection information. I've got one folder for data connections and one for reports. What I do want to point out when I do in the reports is that if I go into the financial area, actually let's go into sales, you can see the reports are really small in size. So it's actually losing the data as it saves it. So they're very, very small files, and they're going to be just populated as I go ahead and double click on them. And now it's refreshing. So you can see that information is coming in there. If I go in here and I want to change these column headings, I don't like the original transaction amount. I just want to, invoice amount and amount due over here. I can go ahead and do some editing inside the GP, so this way when I'm going to redeploy it, so I can go ahead, change column orders, change formatting, etc. Let me just get out of this for 1 second. And the way that we're doing that is that I'm inside GP right now. The area is going to be under Tools, and then you're going to see your Smart List Builder once it's deployed. And here is the 4 areas that we're in. So I'm going to go into Excel Report Builder. And let's open up unposted cash receipts. So I've got a list out there. It's using 2 tables. It's got the work file and the master file. I can add files in additionally, but let me just go ahead and show you this part, and then we'll take a deeper dive into some more areas. You can see I only have the display area. I don't have default. So let's see if we can move this back. That's fine. Okay, so what I want to add to this is I want to go ahead and put the salesperson in there. So I'm going to go to the customer master, and here's my salesperson ID. I just go down there and I click it, and now it's going to be saved to the report. If I want to go ahead and say I want one of these reports for every single company, I just go into Options, and I say it's a multi-company report, and I just go ahead and say Mark All, and now I'm going to get one report for each one, and I'm going to indicate to consolidate the reports into a single workbook, and over and above that, I can create a summary page. And so that'll give me one on the top that's going to go ahead and aggregate them all in there. As I'm going in here to individual fields, I can do some formatting. So when I highlight this, I've got the ability here to go ahead and give some negative values, percentage signs. If I've got notes in there, I can go ahead and display those as well. Okay, and I can change the sort order, etc. So I'm going to now get one for every single salesperson. Now we understand that we can do filtering inside Excel. Once I go ahead and publish this, and I'm in Excel and I'm refreshing the data, I can use data filtering in there. But suppose I wanted to go ahead and make this unposted cash receipts for one single salesperson. I can go ahead and change the name over here to say Greg _E, and I can do some restrictions. Oops. Let's put Greg E. Okay. Not a problem. It's just telling me there's some rules in the report name. Okay, so I want to go ahead and make this, so I'm going to give this Excel report to Greg. I don't want him to see anyone else's unposted cash receipts, just his. This way when he's calculating his commission and he's looking at the customer balances, he also wants to see what's in batch mode that has not been posted, so he can go ahead and get some insight into what he's going to be paid on once those transactions are posted. So I can go ahead and just say it's going to be a table, it's going to be the customer master, and it's going to be the fields equal to, and I just choose the field salesperson ID. And I just put in a restriction. And I say save it, and I say OK, and now when I save this file, it's only going to give me his customers. So that's some of the things. You can also do some calculations. If you need to do some calculations in there, you can go ahead and say, you know, take this minus, or do some multiplication, and there's some pretty complex. But if I wanted to create a brand new report as well, so let me just get out of here and get into Tools and Smart List Builder. I wanted to do a new Smart List. I wanted to do not Smart List Builder, I wanted to be an Excel report builder. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and say it's new, let's just call it demo. We call it demo. And I can either take it from, I can go to the Microsoft GP tables. I can also do this defaulted from a Smart List. I can also go ahead and make this a pivot table. So now if I'm looking for the GP tables and I'm not sure where they are, and I don't want to be lost inside here where I'm getting all this information, while I'm trying to create this list, what I can do is I can open up one of the GP windows and it will give me the information or the insight into what I need. So if I go into the inquiries and I go into, say, sales, and I want to look at the receivable summary, and let's call up a customer. Okay, I can go up to Tools over here and go to Table Finder, and what it's going to do is it's going to tell me how it got all the information that I'm seeing inside this screen. So, and I can go field by field, so I can see that it's from this receivable table. I don't have to go out there and search for it. It's actually telling me that it's in there. So now when I go back into Excel Report Builder, when I go to add the tables, I'll know exactly where the information's in. Okay, so that's some of the information that you can do. Now the last thing I want to show you guys over here is let's go into a file. And here we go. Okay, the report came in. This report I've actually set up with Drillback. So you can see there's a hyperlink in there. So what's going to happen here is that I'm inside Excel. I'm going to refresh my report, refresh all. I could have it on a timer. what we saw earlier. If I want to go in there and take a deeper dive into the Adam Park Resort, it takes me exactly to that GP window, and now I can go ahead and say, okay, that's great, I want to see his aging, etc. And it can just pull up the information that I want. So this, of course, would need a full license inside GP, but I can use the Excel part of it and I can drill back. So just by opening it up inside Excel, inside this view, I'm able to go ahead and get to the report that was strung off the customer and be able to get his aging. So that's some of the things that you can go ahead and do, and that's just a start. So just to kind of give you a taste of what's available. Of course, all of this is probably better with some use cases and some proper training. Okay, so let me just go through and we'll just finish things up with using Excel and PAC using Smartconnect. So E1 also has a product called Smartconnect, and we can do a deeper dive into that in a later session, in a separate session, but Smartconnect has a built-in Excel add-in. So what that's going to allow you to do is you can take your reports that you create inside Excel Report Builder and turn them into GP transactions. Maybe you opened up a new company and you've got some recurring entries in one company and you want to go ahead and import the transactions into another. Or you've got vendors in one company and you want to import them into another. So this way you can go ahead and take information from one company or within a company and do all the massaging or the reworking in Excel you want, and then be able to send the information back in. And so what this is going to do is it's going to eliminate re-entry and human error. So you can just get the information down, not have to type it in or put it into SmartList, and be able to do what you want to do. You can also go ahead and integrate, if you're using Extender or you're using any of the ISVs out there, you can go ahead and use those information inside Excel Report Builder and be able to get the information back in again. And both Excel Report Builder and Smartconnect in a round-trip solution support ISV tables and the Extender tables if you're using those in your implementation. Okay, so there's a lot here, and there's a lot you can do with it. So this is just a really small taste of what is possible, and just sort of giving you an overview in a half an hour of what we can do. But there's a couple of things that I want you to remember. That security is important. So there is a security document out there. Again, it's using Active Directory. It's slightly different from the GP security. So we're typically configuring the security within inside GP. Here we're going to be doing it slightly different in the combination, so we want to make sure you understand the security model. You can copy existing SmartList, Excel reports, and navigation lists. You don't have to start from scratch. So the initial deployment is going to send out all of your default SmartLists as Excel Report Builder reports, and then from there you can start copying and filtering and whatever you need to do. And you can use Extender data without creating views. So if you're using Extender, that's something that comes into play. And then you can be inspired to turn that report into a new transaction inside of Dynamics GP using Smartconnect. And then drillbacks can work from emails or any other places. So if you wanted to go ahead and send the file, they open up the file and you can drill from there. And again, we want to say your best success from here is to make sure that you get some training, some high quality training. So I encourage you guys, if you're planning on using this product, reach out to us. Let's review your examples together and get you on the road to where you need to get to really quickly